What if James was more like Devious Diesel? A question only dared to be asked by the one and only Edward Simp. Whilst I was reading the comment section of the Duck and Oliver video, this question popped up whilst I was talking to the Edward Simp. He asked, what if James had Diesel's character traits? And now this is a very interesting question because no one's ever really thought about this before. The more I pondered about this question, the more interesting it really did become. After much thought, I finally came up with the answer. I even had a full timeline crafted too. What if James was like Diesel? And who would be playing Duck's role and who would be playing the Big Engine's role? In order for this video to make sense, we need to discuss what Diesel's character really is, and then we can get onto the main topic itself. So get yourselves comfortable, grab a snack like some popcorn or something, grab a drink like a Coke for example, sit back, relax, and let's discuss this very odd topic. To further understand this question, we need to ask ourselves, who is Diesel? Diesel is a Class 08 shunter introduced in the 12th episode of the second series of Thomas the Tank Engine. He was also introduced in the books as well in the 13th book called Duck and the Diesel Engine. He posed a little bit of a threat towards steam engines, seeing as he was the first ever diesel engine to appear in this franchise. He and another major character, Duck, shared a little bit of a rivalry, where these two didn't really like each other that much. And Duck decided to play a little prank on Diesel, and let's just say that it made Diesel look a little bit like an idiot. Diesel's character traits can be described as prideful, arrogant, rude, selfish, manipulative and cruel, and maybe even a little bit evil in some ways. It's established early on that Diesel is kind of evil. He's our first true antagonist. Seeing as Duck doesn't really like change, as discussed in our last video, Diesel kind of poses a threat to him and steam engines as a whole. It proves that Diesel is very prideful being Diesel, more so prideful than Duck of being Great Western. So in turn, Diesel starts spreading lies about Duck, and the big engines start to resent him. Whilst Diesel does get sent away off screen and Duck becomes a hero, it's still very interesting how he got to do that. So with that out of the way, now let's get on to the main topic. Okay, here's my take on it, and if it seems a little bit rough and there's a mistake, let me know in the comments below. I'm all here for it. I guess you could say in this timeline, Thomas is kind of like our Duck in a way. He's very prideful of his work, and he likes doing things his own way. Not necessarily the Great Western way, but, you know, in his own little manner, and he's a little bit more cheeky to the other engines. Just like in the trilogy, a new modern engine arrived, only this time it's actually James. He boasts about how tender engines could be the future of railways, and how much more reliable Mogul engines are, considering James has a very unique wheel configuration compared to the other engines. I guess James would arrive as a new shunter in this timeline to replace Thomas, because he might be getting his own branch line soon, or to help out, I'm not really sure. Just like Duck, Thomas would probably play a prank on James, involving the trucks. Maybe even in the same fashion, you know. James, being very hateful and vengeful, probably gets back at Thomas, gets Henry and Gordon, seeing as James isn't part of the Big Three in this timeline, to turn on Thomas by spreading lies. It's basically in the exact same fashion as Diesel, and Thomas gets sent away, obviously feeling sad, and Edward plays his role as he did in that trilogy. So Thomas comes to work with Edward for a little while, and what happens to James? Well, he gets found out for his crimes, and the Fat Controller orders him to take a goods train to the mainland, so that he never returns. Knowing that James had wooden brake blocks during those days, something would naturally go wrong. As he's going uphill, it puts pressure on his brakes and it starts to cause a little bit of a spark. The truck's getting back at James, push him down the hill, and then his brake catches fire. Now James is in a lot of trouble, and Thomas, who's working at Edley Station at the time, sees James and wonders what he should do. Thomas makes a very bold decision. After getting much character development after the whole thing with James, despite James being his absolute enemy, he has to save him. So, Thomas chases after James and goes right in front of him. However, the attempt failed and they ended up crashing into a field anyway. but the accident could have been a lot more major if Thomas wasn't there, so by technicality, Thomas is a hero. I like to think that Thomas got rewarded his branch line in this very manner too, and as for James, he, very much like Diesel, gets sent off, never to return. But unlike Diesel, who does constantly return afterwards, James never does. The reason why is because all loaned engines never returned. And considering a lot of them were quite horrible to Edward, as seen in Edward's Day Out in the Railway series, it's very, very unlikely that James would ever return after this. But who would take his place on the railway? I like to think Donald or Douglas, or maybe even both, took over James's role. They're both goods engines, and they can pull passengers too, so it's beneficial just to top them hat. But in a way, it wouldn't be the same without James the Red Engine, would it? And that's pretty much what I have to cover today. I haven't got much else to say really. There's one update with the film. The script is done. It is all done now. I finished it during my trip to Disneyland last week, so that is very good. I hope that all of you are having a good day, and tomorrow expect another upload from me. It's going to be a much shorter one, but we'll have to wait and see what it is. Bye for now, everyone. Have a great day.